توحشت أمي وفرش الدافي وخويا، زين أيامي وصغر أحلامي وبويا. توحشت اللين وريحة الياسمين، توحشت اللين وريحة الياسمين. زنق الدار قواي الحس ودوا، جري شوارع كبرى قواس الحومة. توحشت اللين والكرمة كيف تميل، توحشت اللين ونفنا باش نلقى.
Everybody thinks that when you're developing an area, the big thing is to hang on the rope and slap in a couple of bolts and you're done. My name is Gus Alexandropoulos. I'm a climber. I've been climbing in Ontario for about 30 years. I've worked in the outdoor industry my whole adult life. I mean, never has climbing been more popular, but never has it been more challenging to find new areas in southern Ontario. What is significant, what is really created some excitement for me is the granite in northern Ontario. There are immense cliffs. Cliffs like Eyeball Crag, which is what we're currently working on, which is 2 kilometers long, and it is about 150 meters tall at its highest point. And it's just a massive, massive cliff. And the potential for new routes there is staggering. It's quite beautiful. I'm drawn to the area not just for the climbing, but also just for the isolation. In many ways, it reminds me of what climbing used to be like before you could get on your phone and Facebook or Instagram or tweet your experiences, because you cannot. The camping is phenomenal. You're literally 20 minutes from the base of the cliff. It's a flat, sandy, open base. There's water nearby. You cannot ask for better camping, especially if you're planning on spending some time there climbing. I mean, as long as you keep your impact to a minimum, it's a perfect area. It's beautiful. It's interesting because everybody, a lot of new climbers ask me, you know, who's responsible for maintaining this hardware? How does it get put in? And it's funny because you tell them that, well, you know, nobody's responsible. I put it in. My wife paid for it. You know, Randy pays for it out of his own pocket. There's no association. There's no government body. There's no fund that builds climbs or builds infrastructure or supports trails for climbers. Climbers are doing it out of their own pocket. On their own time, and they can be out there climbing and enjoying themselves, and instead they're establishing routes and building cliffs for other people to ultimately enjoy. And I think that's something that climbers need to understand and support if they can in any way possible, right? It's an amazing sport where people establish the infrastructure that allows you to go climbing. You know, hockey, baseball, all these other sports, you have the infrastructure being built by government bodies, by communities, by organizations. Climbing, at least in North America, is done primarily out of individuals' desire to establish climbing areas. I think it's important that people understand it, though, so that they can feel like they're more connected to the community, to people. It's the climber beside you that might be doing it, right? So it's kind of cool when people finally get it. Like, they, oh yeah, shit, this has been done by that guy. This whole clip was developed mostly by these 2 guys or gals. So it's kind of amazing when they finally see that. And by that I mean trail building, making sure the bases are stabilized so they don't erode. For someone to go and climb up there who's never been there, they're already taking a risk. And that's okay. I mean, fine, they want some adventure. But the adventure shouldn't also include getting lost to the base of a cragging area, right? And so you want to build trails that go to the routes, and these trails need to be sustainable. They need to be easily found, and by sustainable I mean if they start seeing a lot of traffic, they shouldn't erode. So you need to take some time to consider how you're establishing the place, and that's the kind of work that I think really goes into making an area desirable from a climber's perspective that is never seen or rarely appreciated, right? Everybody thinks the drama is when you're placing the bolts in the rock or scrubbing the lichen and cleaning the route. But I think this other component, like even just GPS tagging the bases so you know where the routes start, all this stuff that isn't glamorous, but it makes it viable, and it becomes more important if you expect to see people using this area as a climbing area, right? Rather than just like a one-off where you and your friends only go and eventually gets forgotten. I think it has the potential to be a really cool destination climbing area. I mean, for a certain part of the season. Will it ever become, roadside cragging? No, it's not. But that's okay. It's not supposed to be roadside cragging. It gives people another opportunity to experience climbing in a different way. Why do I climb? That's a very good question. I think I was initially drawn to climbing for a lot of traditional reasons. I wanted to be outside. I felt that you would see beautiful places. There was a physical component to it that attracted me. There was an element of risk that I enjoyed. Why do I continue to climb? It's a very good question. Why do I continue to climb? Probably because I realized you get to meet people and see places that you would never normally be exposed to. Made some incredible friendships, had some incredible experiences that I think only occurred because I was a climber. Developing clips, there's two reasons. One is selfish. I like the process. I love the process. I find it's creative. I find it's meditative. People say the route always exists. You just got to equip it or clean it, and that's not necessarily the case. I don't believe that at all. I think the route is something that you have to find, and a skilled developer can make an area or a climb even more desirable by the way they develop it, the way they clean it, the way they equip it. All these elements, I think, really help define a rock climb, and sometimes that's taken for granted. So I enjoy that process immensely. So that's the personal, selfish element. The altruistic component to that is I think as climbers we should give back to our community. And for me, developing areas, developing climbs at all grade is an opportunity to give back. The cliffs I climbed at and learned to climb at were developed by other people, and they did it in the same way that I'm doing it, to some extent for themselves, but to provide a resource that I can climb at, right? Climb on. And so I think it's important, especially now that climbing is getting bigger and bigger and the interest in the sport has increased, that we give back to the sport in any way we can. And as a route developer, I think, or crag developer, I think that's something that I can give back, I would like to think that what I'm doing is giving back to the community, but I also think my role is to set a standard that other people can then exceed, both in terms of the quality of the routes the sustainability of the routes, the professionalism with which the areas are developed. And I know these statements seem strange for some climbers because climbing has historically had this spirit of wildness and lack of rules. And I grew up with that, so I can understand those concerns. But what's happening now with climbing is that as it's growing, we need to start looking at the resource differently and managing it differently and creating routes and areas in a way that, as I said, so we're not squandering the resource that we have.